IMAX.
they're the Chinese triplets.
Yeah. Somehow I didn't catch that in the dialogue because it was. I don't know if I just have shitty hearing or what. Because a lot of the dialogue, like in the really loud scenes, I couldn't hear it, but I saw it at a movie tavern on Saturday, and I could hear every word because the sound mix was a lot lower. I think I also have problems picking out whenever something's loud. I have trouble like picking out just one thing, which is why
So there's no way you could be like Jordy.
Exactly.
And wear that visor.
No, the world's too big, Mom.
If you're blind, that's it. You're blind.
I'm done.
You're donezo.
Yep. Well, maybe I could learn if I had to.
I guess.
If I went deaf, that's the problem. My eyes.
Would you rather go blind or deaf?
Deaf.
Yeah, I'd go deaf.
I mean, I'd miss music, but I want to be able to read still.
Yeah, and
see where I'm going.
You could. Could you drive? Do deaf people drive? Are they allowed to drive? Are deafs allowed to drive?
I don't know. I mean, I would assume my first thing is, well, they can see, yeah. So, but I don't know because I mean, you have to be aware of the road around you, and if you're living in a sort of world of silence, yeah, I don't know, man.
Also, you could have those ocular implants. Or transplants or something. Ocular, that's an eye thing, right?
Yeah, that's an eye thing. Like audio implants?
Yeah. You get those Beats by Dre. Next best thing to hearing. Yeah, I for sure want to be deaf. Yeah. Although, I mean, like, it's... Like... And people are like, oh, well, then you never get to hear, like, your kids say I love you, or, like, hear the
yeah, but I'll be able to see my kid grow up.
Like, have the laughter of a lover. I'm like, yeah, but I can remember that.
And I can see them laughing.
Yeah.
I can put my hand on their throat while they laugh, because that's not creepy. Yeah, for those of you at home, I'm not wrapping my fingers around the throat in a choke. I'm like holding it out flat against the Adam's apple of my lover.
Yeah.
I assume if I go deaf, I'm also going to go gay.
Yeah, because you're like, fuck, why not?
Why not? The sweetness of a woman's voice, I'll never hear it again, so I might as well take up with a hairy-legged man.
Yeah, get comfortable. Get real comfy with it.
But the movie, yeah, I liked it a lot the second time, but Charlie Hunnam, is that how you say his name?
I think so.
I didn't have a problem with his acting the first time around, but the second time, it really started to grate on me. He only seems to have about, at least in this movie, I've never seen him on Sons of Anarchy.
It's about the same.
I thought he was really funny on Undeclared, but he gets to use his actual accent in that show. So that may have a big bearing on how he sounds. And I don't understand why the character had to be American in this movie. Why not just make him British?
I guess because they already had British guys.
Yeah, they have. They have the Australians, and then they have.
Are they Australian?
I think they're Australian.
Oh well, maybe they needed someone American.
I guess. Well, to get an American financier, to get Americans to come see the movie, which they didn't anyway. Thanks a lot, America.
You guys.
If you went to see Turbo this weekend, fuck you.
Grown Ups 2.
Yeah. Well, if you went to see Turbo without a kid, if you went with a kid, fine. Maybe the kid's too young to realize what's awesome and what's not. But, that's on you to teach them early. Yeah. But it really is the most joyous thing I've seen in the theater in a long time.
It's a lot of fun.
I was thinking about, is it better or worse than Iron Man 3? And I think that Iron Man 3... kind of suffers from the third act is fine, but it's got the same problem the other two Iron Man movies have, which is by the time you get into the last 30 minutes, it's like, okay, I'm done. Because it's not so much about the quips anymore, it's more just CGI things fighting each other. So, but I also feel like this film's got kind of a third act problem too, because I don't feel like the underwater battle is anywhere near as exciting as the one in the city.
Yeah. Like,
they never top that middle section of the film where...
So good.
But that's okay, because the battle on the bottom's fine. It's good enough. And I liked that a lot better the second time because, again, I guess I have trouble counting in an IMAX. I didn't realize there were 3 signals somehow. Somehow that was completely lost on me, even though they say it. So they're fighting, it's a triple event, and that means that Gottlieb is right. Somehow I don't know if I missed it or I just had trouble following it because it was so big. I don't know. But
what's wrong with you, man?
Seriously, I felt giddy. Again, there was a moment really early in the film where I started to get a little choked up. It's like when you first see them getting into the robot and just realizing, fuck, I think this is going to work,
like early on, like in the first like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I got choked up just because ever since I was a little boy, like just the idea like giant monsters fighting giant robots has just been like this crazy like fantasy of mine,
right.
and like this is as close to reality
as it's gonna get.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And the effects are just gorgeous. I mean, and the fights actually have weight behind them. Like, you know, you watch Transformers and it's gorgeous, but like it doesn't matter because it's an inhuman thing fighting another inhuman thing. Whereas in this one, the genius of, first of all, having people inside the robots, but two, the fact that you have to have two, and that idea of synchronicity, and I love the idea that the film, they don't hammer it home, but it's definitely there, this idea of humans, people needing each other. I mean, it's in Stringer Bell's big speech at the end. You know, we've chosen not just to believe in ourselves, but in each other, and the idea of, you know, in the drift, and that's what it is, right? Yeah. The blue is the drift. I really enjoyed that. And the actress who plays Mako, I thought she was great.
She was in Babel.
Was she really? I've never seen Babel.
Yeah, she was the Japanese girl in Babel.
Oh. Well, she's the heart of the movie. Like,
yeah, she's great.
And the flashback scene with her, that she looks like the Asian version of your kid. Like,
maybe that's what it was.
She looks a lot like something about, maybe it's the hair or so. I don't know exactly. But Becca and I were both talking about it afterwards. It was like, looks like the Asian version of Sergio's daughter.
Because there's this scene where it's a flashback scene where she's like maybe 4 years old,
right?
Like walking through the streets of, I don't know,
like
Tokyo, I guess.
Right.
Like like one shoe on, holding the other shoe in her hand, just like bawling her eyes out.
Yeah.
Like walking through like just like a ravaged city, a ravaged cityscape.
And there's a giant crab monster destroying the city, and it notices her.
Yeah, and she freaks out. And while I'm watching this, it's everything in my power not to just start bawling my eyes out.
And especially whenever when he shows up, when what's the character? Pentecost.
Yeah.
When Pentecost climbs out of the robot and smiles down at her, and the look on her face of just that, like, oh my god,
like the little smile that I mean, like, it's crazy. It's so insane how, I mean, like, obviously, like, little kids aren't that really great actors. They can't be. They just can't.
Right.
But just the smile she gives is perfect.
Yeah.
It's not like an elated, like, yay! It's just like, I'm safe now and I know it.
Right. And this is the person who did it.
It's very simple and honest.
And I read on the internet, just on some internet discussion
on the internet.
thread. Well, I was on maybe Ain't It Cool News or something, but somebody was talking about the shot of Pentecost when he climbs out of the robot and he's looking down at her and the sun's behind him.
Yeah.
And about how, like, just in that moment, that's all Man of Steel really needed, was a moment where you actually felt like Superman was a hero.
Yeah.
And, like, you can tell this guy is a hero. And that's one of the things I liked about this movie is the main character's name. What's his name?
Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam.
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy, undeclared. The character, he's a hero, you know? I mean, like, but he's not like, there's no chosen one thing to it. It's not like you were born into this. It's just, he's like, biologically he can do it.
Like, yeah, he was like, I was good at it. Like,
right, I'm a scrapper.
Like, because there's a great voiceover, which, like, I mean, as you know, there's the joke in adaptation
about God help you if you use voiceover.
But I mean, there's a voiceover for the first like 15 minutes of this movie.
It really works.
That just like, boom, this is what's going on. This is what you need to know. Let's go.
And I'd rather have that than a whole movie about that part of the story. I like that they skip ahead to the interesting part.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because the monsters show up, they F stuff up for a while.
Right.
We fight back. We start winning. And, like, we got good, and to the point where, like, you know, monster attacks seem like a joke. And
right, it's like comic books.
Yeah,
it's
they made toys out of them.
Right,
and then that's when shit got real.
When they started getting bigger and stronger, and they started losing pilots.
Yep.
I love that. Yeah, the program's on the ropes at the beginning. I love that. There's a sense of, like, Del Toro has just such a strong, in a time when blockbuster filmmaking seems to be forgetting simple narrative things, like in the, you know, like, is you know, we had nice things to say about Star Trek Into Darkness, but it is convoluted as fuck. Like, I still don't quite know what the story of that movie was. Like, is Khan a tragic anti-hero? Is he a sociopath villain? Is he... Like, the movie couldn't make up its mind because they're trying to keep you guessing from scene to scene. And in a time when you've got something like that, or like Man of Steel, which also, like, I understand the basic story, but all that stuff with the codex and all that, like, that you didn't need.
What's the point of that?
Right. Just to have, like, this simple, like, and very engaging narrative. Like, you know everything you need to know about the main character by the time the prologue's over. Like, you understand who he is, where he comes from, and how he feels, why he is the way he is. Yep. You see him lose his brother, which is pretty amazing. Like the image of the Jaeger, him doing single combat and bringing the Jaeger back to shore, and the guy with the metal detector.
We never find anything good.
He finds the robot toy in the.
Which, I mean, when you think about it, like, and they bring up the point later on, like when you're fighting inside the robot with your co-pilot, your minds are as one. You like enter each other's minds,
right?
And that's how you're able to function the robot together,
right?
It's just the strain of it is too much for one mind, which is why it was impressive that he was able to pilot it back to shore by himself after his brother died.
But it's also a great plot thing. Like the idea, it adds so much drama just having giving that thing and then taking it away.
Yeah, and then he brings it up later. He's like, when my brother died, I was still connected to him. I sensed all the fear, the helplessness, and just like, and I thought of that, after it happened. I'm like, oh, they're still connected. Like he was still in his mind, like that, like he felt his brother die. Yeah, right. Which has to be like completely like
that has to be one of the worst things.
Which is I can see why you quit. I can see like why you're like living on
crawling on a wall.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the idea that the government's. Did they say why they've shut down the Jaeger program? Just because they're starting to
working.
Lose? It wasn't working anymore.
And so they start building this wall,
this coastal wall,
like it's gonna that's gonna work. And
right,
there's one in Australia that got torn down in like 15 minutes by kaiju.
Right, and the Australian robot took it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that you understand who the characters are, what they want, and all of them are very easily understandable. And they all have arcs that pay off. I felt like the end of the film, like the very end, is pretty emotional. But like, I felt like there's such strong work for Mako up through the fight in Hong Kong, and then it feels like it's sort of just done until the very end when she's panicked that he might be dead. Yeah. And I felt like there was really an opportunity there to make it to crank the drama a little bit more, especially as her surrogate father is dying.
Yeah.
To give her a chance at life. But
also I think because I mean he had radiation poisoning, Pentecost did, and so they're like, if you ever get in one of those machines again, you'll die.
Right. So she already knows.
So he's like, yeah, he's gonna die.
Right.
I mean, like now it's just like he's doing a noble thing and sacrificing his life.
That's true. But I didn't feel as much at the end as I did in the middle, because whenever she actually says "for my family," like, and she's got the sword, right? Yeah. Like I got kind of choked up right there, because first of all, it's the most fun thing I've seen in forever. Yeah. That fight in Hong Kong, and it's such a heroic moment. There's no moment in Man of Steel like that. It's like where the other Jaegers are just being obliterated by this kaiju that has an EMP, essentially. Yeah. And Gypsy Danger happens to be analog. And that shot where they just drop it in and it just fucking goes for it.
And it starts running.
Yeah, and even the guy, the Australian kid, who's just such a fucking prick, is like, kick his ass!
Yes.
Yeah, and it, like, genuine heroism. I haven't seen another movie so far this year that actually has that level of heroism where it's like, here's a hero doing the right thing and saving somebody. It's do you remember Superman? You've seen Superman 2, right?
I think so.
At least once, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, Superman gives up his powers, right?
To be with Lois
Lane. To be with Lois, and then the 3 Kryptonians show up and start fucking shit up, and he has no powers to deal with it.
Yeah. And
so he makes the choice of like, I'm going to give up this relationship so I can save people, so I can get it back. And there's the great moment, and it's, cheesy by today's effect standards and drama, whatever. Yes, filmmaking's evolved, but there's this great moment where, well, first of all, he gets his ass kicked in the diner when he doesn't have the powers. The guy is hitting on Lois. Some trucker's hitting on Lois in the diner. And Clark, is decides to man up, and he's like, would you care to step outside? And the guy just beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And